Now the next one's a longer one. A designer worth her salt. When a designer is laying out a newsletter with her client, and her client gives her a bunch of amateur photographs to include, for which there is little room, the designer knows she will be in for a hard time. Because our world is largely made up of horizontal planes, the majority of extraneous material will likely be scattered across the horizontal plane either side of the central subject. When a designer is formatting photographs that must all conform to the same space constraints, e.g. must fit the width of one column of the newsletter's columns exactly, any designer worth their salt knows that if you reduce the width of any photograph, it will take up more space. If a photograph that is twice the width of a square and has a lot of extraneous material on either side of the central subject, it might be necessary to cut out that extraneous material in order to render the photograph publishable. It may, in fact, be necessary to make that photograph a square. In a universe populated by squares and various other geometric shapes, a horizon governed by space requires of the designer much salt for its successful negotiation. Because all photos must fit the one width, to cut the width of a photograph in half is to double its height. Not only do two half squares make a square, but two squares make a half square. If you cut a half square in half, you will make a square that is equal to two half squares. Cut a horizontal half square in half, you will double its size. The great designer makes tame the horizon. The great designer shores up her salt and bends space to her will. The rule does not apply to vertical photographs. Though one is still faced with much extraneous material, ridiculously tapered legs and bulbous heads, to cut out the extraneous material may actually reduce the photograph's size. Any designer worth their salt would not accept photographs from an amateur photographer, particularly when space is at a premium, for one must be the ruler of space and not be governed by it. Thank you.